Hidden in a remote canyon, carved where they thought no one would ever look, the Anasazi left their final message. And it's not a goodbye, it's a warning. A warning so chilling that an entire civilization of master builders and astronomers abandoned their cities. They left behind sandals by the door, pots of beans cooling on the hearth, and stone towers that touched the sky. By 1300 AD, every fire was cold, every voice was gone. For centuries, we asked how a people could simply vanish. Now, the answer is carved in stone, counting down to the end of their world and pointing straight at us. Last spring, I walked into CG Canyon. The silence was absolute, breathtaking. It was the silence of a catastrophe frozen in time. I was standing in Petroglyph house on a ledge, a 5-story stone city tucked into a massive cliff alcove. 120 rooms of astonishing precision, built without metal tools. It was perfectly preserved, as if the builders had just left for lunch. But they never came back. The science of tree ring dating tells us exactly when. The last roof beam was cut in 1286. By 1300, every fire in the entire Four Corners region was cold. Something drove an entire people to abandon granaries overflowing with corn. We used to call it archaeology's greatest mystery. Now we understand. It wasn't a collapse. It was a contingency plan. To understand the warning, you have to see what they gave up. This was a vast, coordinated society the size of a European country. Their capital was Chaco Canyon, a network of over 400 miles of perfectly straight roads. It connected dozens of towns to this metropolis. They built Pueblo Bonito, a 5-story, 800-room great house, the largest apartment building in North America for 800 years. They were brilliant astronomers, using rock slabs on Fajada Butte to mark the solstices with daggers of light. They mastered the desert, growing corn in sand. They had stability, art, and community. They had everything. So why did they run? The trees tell the first part of the horror story. Starting in 1276, the rings become dangerously thin. For 24 years, the rains failed. The Great Drought had begun. But drought doesn't always mean death for a civilization this advanced. The real story is in their architecture. Open, accessible villages on mesas were abandoned. New homes were built in impossibly high, fortified cliff ledges. This was the architecture of pure fear. Access was a single ladder that could be pulled up. Children had to be tethered to keep from falling. This was the defensive period. Their descendants call it the time the world went wrong. Skeletons show severe malnutrition. But there's something worse. Evidence of brutal violence, massacres, and cannibalism. The drought didn't just bring hunger, it brought war. Neighbor turned against neighbor for the last drops of water. This brings us to the message itself. In Grand Gulch, Utah, a petroglyph is hidden under a deep overhang. It's only fully illuminated by the last light on the winter solstice. When that light hits, a chilling story blazes into view, spirals tightening like a noose. The figure of Kokopelli, the spirit of fertility and joy, with his wrists bound, corn stalks snapped in half. Towering over it all is a skeletal figure with hollow eyes. 18 rays erupt from its head, one for each year of the worst drought. Below it, a countdown. 4, 3, 2, and then it stops. Underneath everything, a single handprint is smeared in red ochre. Its thumb points definitively south. It is not a mystery, it is a memo. We counted the years. Time is up. We are leaving. Go this way. The descendants believe these messages were meant to be sung. Hopi elders don't just translate the rock art, they perform it. They explain the hollow-eyed figure is not a monster. It is Maso, the guardian of the earth. His appearance marks the end of one world and the beginning of the next. The bound kokopelli signifies the covenant with the land has been broken. After one telling, an elder looked at me. He said, they left the warning so the next ones wouldn't wait so long. The way his voice caught on the word next sent a chill down my spine. We are the next ones. When you assemble the clues, the message is a protocol. 1. The trigger. A mega drought longer than a generation. 2. The symptom. Society turning on itself in violent competition. 3. The instruction. Do not stay. Do not wait. Take your children and walk south. Begin again. It's not a story of failure. It's a roadmap for survival. The crucial twist. They never vanished. They are the Hopi, Zuni, and Acoma people. Their modern villages sit precisely where that red handprint pointed. Their migration was a success. Meanwhile, we built Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles in the same desert. Our empire is built on a fragile foundation. Water, the great reservoirs of Lake Mead and Lake Powell are shrinking. As of now, Lake Mead is at just 31% capacity. That 700-year-old countdown is still there. 4, 3, 2, hiking out, I watched a tourist toss a plastic water bottle into the brush. A tiny act of defiance against a warning carved at an unimaginable cost. The Ancestral Puebloans left their cities not because they failed, but because they succeeded. They chose their children's future over their magnificent homes. The question isn't if history will repeat itself. The climate is already changing. The question is whether we are arrogant enough to believe we are the exception. This isn't the end of the story. This is a channel about the wisdom of survival. Subscribe and hit the bell to join us next week. We follow their trail south to the Hopi mesas. We'll meet the farmers using ancient wisdom to survive modern droughts. Be part of this journey. Comment below. If the water stopped flowing to your city tomorrow, what is the one thing you would save? 700 years ago, a woman put her child on her back. She turned away from her home and walked into the desert to save her family's future. She couldn't save her city, but by leaving it, she saved its story. That story is still there, written in stone. It is waiting for us. The only question left is whether we will finally learn to read it before our own countdown hits 0.